Anyways, we'll talk about books today, Pete. Best books that have changed our lives. What do you got?
I love books. You know that
You're
I
up.
love
You,
books right
I know you
now.
do.
And the one I'm currently reading, I'll just start it off, is I'm reading The 12 Laws of Success right now. And that's, Napoleon Hill. My other favorite book that I read every year is Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. My favorite book as far as manifestation and attraction is Excuse Me, Your Life is Waiting. That's a big, big book. So if you guys have never read that, put that on your summer. It's kind of like, I want to have Pete's summer reading list, like Oprah's, but it's Pete's summer reading list. And then I'll yell out at one of these meetings, you get a book, you get a book, you get a book.
Right.
Like Ross Stokes gets a book, Cameron Smith gets a book, and that's it. But I those are my favorite books. Those three, I'm currently in the middle of one of them, and it's been really valuable, The 12 Laws of Success. But I love, I've read The Tipping Point. That was a good book. I think every agent should be required to read that, to know that they're going to have to put in at least 10,000 hours to be able to do real estate. That should be a requirement.
Right.
But at the end of the day, I'm not a voracious reader. I read a book here and there, and it's kind of like watching a movie that you keep pausing all the time. And I read mostly on planes or if I'm on vacation, but the rest of the time I'm working. The benefit of that is I think it gets you in the right mindset, and I think it creates a vibration within you that helps you manifest and attract business. And that's really, really important. So the number one book right now, if your business is not going well or it's not where you want it to be, is read Excuse Me, Your Life is Waiting. I think that's one of the most beneficial books. I love The Four Agreements. I think every agent should be required to read The Four Agreements, so we don't take everything personally. If I took everything personally, and trust me, it's tough. I work on it every day. If I took everything personally, I would be in an insane asylum. So I think those are the big things, and we're all just trying to do the best we can with what we have, and we're always trying to recreate ourselves. But I think, when things aren't going right, it's real easy to go to that negative energy or that negative type of conversation in your head. And the only way to really shift it from a mental status is to read something positive that you can implement. That's the best piece of advice I can give.
Yeah, and the big thing, when I look at books, is I have reading disability, which is why I got kicked out of college twice.
I thought it was because you colored outside the lines. You told me.
Well,
That's
that
why
too,
they kicked you out.
But I'm trying to, I have to act like I'm important here. But I look at every book I've ever read, and it's funny. I was making a list before the call on the books that I've read that have really impacted me. And I have a lot of them. I'm going to let these guys go first. I'll go after everybody's done. But I look at books the same way I look at seminars. I'm trying to find one nugget out of a book. When I go to a seminar or a conference, I'm looking for one nugget. My brain is not expandable to have 20 nuggets. Right? I need one nugget that I can really go, oh, that talks to me. So, when I think when people read books, I think sometimes people don't read books because there's too much information. But I would say every time I've read a book, a good book, I've read a lot of books that suck too. And I have to read a book by the way 3 to 5 times before I actually get the book. So every book that I'm going to mention when I talk, I've read at least 3 to 5 times because that's my brain struggles with it. But I know they're important. And I've done audiobooks too, which definitely helped better. But they didn't have audiobooks 10 years ago when I started doing really reading. 20 years ago I started reading books. Anyways, Ross, what do you got? What books have changed your life, both business wise and personal?
Cool. Got a couple I'll talk about, but just to expand on your thought, Mitch, when I'm reading these days, like I used to try and remember, and then I took it a step further, I'd make a note. And now, if I really want to get something done, when I get that nugget, I put the book down, I open up whatever media I need to open up and implement immediately. I email my media guy, I email my team, whoever it is I need to get in touch with immediately so I don't lose that thought And I think that's probably what a lot of us deal with is we get like the aha moment and then we pick up social media and we scroll for like 2 seconds and it's like, what I just remember or what happened? It's all about implementing right in that moment because there's so many tools that we can have now, whether it's a piece of AI or if it's, just hopping on your phone and sending a text or an email to your team or to whoever you need to make that happen for you. Just make sure you do it. I've talked to a lot of agents recently who've said, I just feel stuck. I feel behind the 8 ball. And it's because you have the capacity to do it all. It just takes one step, then another, and then the next thing you know, you'll be running. So if you feel like you've missed the torch handoff, you haven't. You just got to you just got to start the race. So I wanted to just expand on that because if you read, like that's cool, but if you don't do anything with it, you're stuck. So I was making a wild success of earning Cracker Jacks when I was playing minor league baseball. I think I was a money losing endeavor, even though I was getting paid. I had a wife, I had a kid, and I had just started to, in my opinion, kind of turn my life around for the better. I was in my early 20s and I'd always been a leader in my clubhouse spaces, whether it was high school, little league, college. I was always looked to I had a natural knack for leadership and I love the locker room. I love uh, leading a group of people. So when I was starting to, I'll call it mature in my early 20s, I picked up a book called The Book on Leadership by John MacArthur. And if anybody knows me, like if anybody on the team's on the call, you know that faith is super important to me. And the book on leadership by John MacArthur actually follows the Apostle Paul and how he was a servant leader. And what I'm trying to do is mimic servant leadership, whether your beliefs line up with that or not. And in my opinion, that is the best place to come from of serving other people through positive actions, and that becomes leadership. So that really formed me and gave me a new and positive way to deal with people. And we had, during the time I was reading that, we ended up that season, we made it to the championship series. The next year, we actually won it. It was a really fun time to get invigorated and lead people. So got a couple rings through reading that book, which is cool. And then today, when I'm talking about implementation, I'm trying to take 30 minutes out of each day. Like Pete said, like it's really easy to read on vacation or when you're not working, but I'm making a habit to carve out 30 minutes a day to learn. And that's part of my work. I am not a tech guy. I'm not like the direction that our business is going in. I am not going to be a forerunner in innovation, but I'm going to be what my good friend Dave Lawson always says, the best at R&D. And that isn't research and development. That's ripping off and duplicating. I'm going to learn what other people are doing and try and implement that. That's why I'm at EXP. I'm not trying to reinvent the wheel. I'm going to get on the best vehicle to drive me to where I'm going and to help me reach my goals. I'm sorry for the EXP plug, I forgot, but it's important to me, and that's a message that I think a lot of people are missing. I've been dealing with a lot of people lately who want to be, the next Epic or the next Real or the next EXP, and they're making all these things. It's like, man, I just hopped in the Ferrari and went. I'm not trying to clug along with like Tow Mater. I'm gonna go. So the book now that I'm reading, what everyone's gonna talk about, if you're listening to all the top people, the first book they're going to tell you to read if you want to grow your business is Traction. And it's simple implementation of what's called EOS, the Entrepreneurial Operating System. If it's not Traction, if it's not EOS, you need an operating system. And this is coming from a guy who thought he was highly organized. I was flying by the seat of my pants. So I got into that book, finding out how to develop systems, how to develop steps for the systems, and that way everyone can be operationally sound. Your whole organization can share core values. The vision is clear. It's all about communication and just having the right people rowing in the right direction. And I just told my team yesterday, because I always use this boat analogy because it's what I'm reading all the time now. And I was like, okay, guys, get your eye rolls in. I know it's my 100th time saying it in the last 3 days, get your eye rolls in, but pretty soon you'll be saying it because it makes sense. So even if you're an individual agent, make sure you're not throwing one oar the other way and one oar this way. You have to be rowing your boat straight and direct and going towards a common goal. So if you're a person divided, if you're an individual business that you're accepting all in any kind of work and not being laser focused on one thing and really growing your brand and your business, the same thing applies. You have to get dialed in and learning how to lead and lead effectively, and then learning how to operate a business soundly. Those are two good books that I would say if you pair them together, you can be a powerhouse.
It's great. It's great. You know, and it is funny. I want to touch on something you said, Rusk. I think it's really important because how I run my entire life is in segmented times, time blocking. And, you know, I've written 3 books now, working on my 4th one right now, which I'm really excited about because it's more for entrepreneurs. And people like, well, not the last one I wrote in 3 months, but normally my first 2 books took me 2 years to write. And they took me 2 years to write because I did 15 minutes a day as I write. And that's what I do. And I'm able to put it, you know, it takes time. But any major project, whether it's reading a book, writing a book, doing any major project, it's all about putting breaking it down. What's the whole saying? If you how many bites does it take, or how do you eat an elephant one bite at a time? It's the same concept. You know, if you're looking at a book that's, you know, that thick, which that would freak me out. You know, that's why my books are 100 pages. You know, you still read 5 pages at a time, whatever it may be, right? And so, anyways, Ken, what do you got, bud?
Hey guys, good morning. I'm just getting my voice back. Just got back from Guatemala, and then we went to Belize for a week and had a great time. But I was lucky enough to lose my voice. So getting it back today, though, rocking and rolling. Excited to be back. I know last week was a pretty awesome call from what I heard. So looking forward to keep adding on to those. Before we get started, though, I want to give a big, huge shout out to everyone on the Real Trends Top 100. We had so many teams that are ranking and, man, busting butt all year. I had a couple #1 teams, which we're super, super proud of. So congratulations, everyone. A couple of you guys I know are on the call today, and congratulations, because that's the result of all the hard work we're doing. So very excited for them. This is a cool topic today for books. I'm going to kind of go at it a little bit differently than usually I normally do. Obviously, I got a little less of a voice, so I'm going to try to go a little bit slower. But adding on a little bit to what Ross was just saying and Mitch, and what we're all going to say is obviously books are how you use them, right? So we got to shift your mindset. A book is not entertainment. We're not reading Winnie the Pooh here, okay? We are using these books for education and motivation. For me personally, one of the best parts about books is, and obviously the books that we read are bestsellers. They're the best of the best. But when you open a book and you start reading the words of these people, they have put together some stuff that'll motivate your soul. It'll touch your soul and get you going and light a fire under you. It's, in my opinion, probably the best way to self-motivate. Motivation, that's the challenge of life, right? Getting up, making sure that you're running as hard as you can run every day and doing everything that you can do. But I'll just be honest, even with myself, it dwindles down a little bit. I mean, we're going on 3 years now of a very challenging market down here in South Florida. You know, we're still kicking butt. We're still taking names. We're slinging them houses, but it's just more challenging every single day. I mean, every home we're selling 3 or 4 times. Buyers aren't doing what they're supposed to do. Sellers aren't doing what they're supposed to do. So how do you combat that, right? Obviously, we have a great team here. The goal is always to be surrounding yourself with people that can keep you going. But the truth is, you guys, we're all going through it. Hey, the leaders up on this panel are going through it just with you. And I think that books are the #1 way for leaders like ourselves to really be able to self-motivate and stay on track and stay focused and be able to have a goal in mind that you're working towards daily, even when those B or C or D kind of days come where you don't even want to answer the phone because you know that phone call is going to be a challenge. So a few of my absolute favorites, and these are books that I've been using, and I mean, I still have some of my bookmarks in these because I read them over and over. But a few of my absolute favorite books that I highly recommend that you all use. Oh, one more thing before I go into this. Audiobooks. I love audiobooks, right? Because they allow you to listen in the car. They allow you they allow you to use it as more of an entertainment thing. Highly recommend audiobooks. But the truth is, you guys, in my opinion, you can be different, but in my opinion, when I read a book, it speaks to my soul a little differently than when I'm hearing someone talk to me. Also, I'm way more focused. I'm focused on the words that I'm reading and what they're trying to show me, right? This is a education. This is something that you are trying to get something out of. You need to do, or really, like Ross was saying, you need to be the person that is taking and making action from the words that you're reading. So on audiobooks, I love them. They're great for entertainment. Highly recommend them. But when you really get down to some of these more important books, I think doing the physical book where you can write out what it's telling you to do, when you can sit down and really manifest the life that you're building. That's why we read these books, right? You're manifesting something, we're building something. So a few of my favorites. Number 1, The Success Principles by Jack Canfield. Listen, you guys, if you go through this book, this is a workbook. This is a workbook here. If you go through this workbook and you do all of the principles and you start implementing them every day, guaranteed your life will be changed in less than 100 days. It's that radical. Now, can everybody jump in and start optimizing their life? No, that's challenging. That's part of what we're trying to help you do here. It's a slow step-by-step process. One of the reasons I love the Success Principles is because you can use it as a step-by-step process. Do the principle 1, do principle 2, add them into each other. Grow slowly, you guys. That's how this works. You can't go from 1 to 1,000 in a day, right? Rome wasn't built in a day. It's the same with your life. We're talking more about life than business right now. So we're changing your mindset. We're building your being, your persons, and we're doing that by aligning you with yourself. And some of this stuff is a little bit religious. They have some stuff in there, and I don't care what you think of it either way. Do the principles and your life will be changed in 100 days. That's all I can say. My second book, kind of staying on that same trend, of fixing your life so that you can put that into your business, is going to be, the first bit, that was Jack Canfield, by the way. Success Principles is Jack Canfield. Second book here is Atomic Habits. Love this book, you guys. This book changed my life. This one was what got me focused and allowed me to work the amount of time that you need to work to do 50, 60, 70 million dollars in a year. You have to be able to do it, and you have to have the habits. This book's by James Clear. Again, it's another workbook that you take and you can start working through them one by one. Love these 2 books. Now, this book is a little bit different because this book is a little bit more real estate focused and how you go about the mindset of negotiating. And we've all talked about this one a bunch. It's Never Split the Difference by Chris Voss. I know, Pete, I think you brought up a Chris Voss book earlier. The guy knows what he's doing. It's a great book. It's a great ideology on how to approach every situation, every negotiation. For a lot of us, and I know as new realtors, if you didn't have the benefit and the opportunity like I did to grow up in coaching and grow up with real estate coaches, most of us kind of get dropped into real estate. You just kind of land and you got to figure it all out. Well, this is a great great book you can have a stepping stone on how to negotiate. That's not something that's taught in schools. That's not taught in real estate class. This book, though, gives you the understanding of where you want to go. These 3 books, you guys, you can read in, I think for most of us could do it in 2 to 3 months, I believe. Like, I'm not a huge reader. Obviously, you need to be putting time in your business. You need to spend the majority of your time in the business. So if you want to spend the time reading the books, that's fine. You need to put them into action, though. So I believe you could get through these 3 books in 2 to 3 months, where you're actually working through the book. And if you get through the books, I guarantee you're going to have just revelations in your life. The final thing I have, and this is obviously my self-promotion because this is the biggest thing that we've had works for our agents, is our workbook. We built this workbook here a few months ago. It gives you a day-by-day calendar. It gives you need to be doing this on this time for this many hours to achieve your results. It's incredible. It's on Amazon. Obviously, we have it printed. It was a top 100 selling real estate book last year, which we were super proud of. We sold quite a bit of them, and people loved them. We have all 5-star reviews. Again, it's actually, you fill it out day by day. So this is, again, a real workbook where you're filling out what you did hour by hour by hour. This is accountability. This is, this is your Bible, so to speak, for your business. If you do all this and you fill out what you're doing, man, the results are incredible. They are just, it just makes it so you optimize your time. You know exactly what you need to be doing at all the times, and you can hold yourself self accountable. You can do those 3 things, you guys. You get the education, you get the motivation, you're ready to take over the world. You're going to be the best agent you can be this year, and then you hold yourself accountable. There will be nothing that stops you, right? That's just the truth. You put in the hours, prospect until you get a yes. The challenge is, how do you get your mindset there so that you can do that? Well, putting it in these books, listening to the best self-help type authors, they're going to motivate you guys. That's why they've sold millions of these. They motivate everybody. They're genius, and you can tap into them too. You just got to do the work, which is what we're preaching here every single week. So I'll link all these books in the chat so that everyone can purchase them or download them. If you don't want to purchase them, there's lots of ways now that you can find books online that have been uploaded. You can read all these completely free if you do a little bit of searching on Google. No excuses, you guys. No excuses. You got to do the work. You got to educate yourself, make yourself better. And then you have the mindset that you can do the hard work. You can do the stuff that's not always fun, and you'll have success with it. So that's what I got. If you guys have any questions about these books, shout out. But these things, Never Split the Difference, The Success Principles, and then Atomic Habits. These are ones that are always coming off my bookshelf. So
Awesome. And one thing that you notice here, first of all, we all read different books, right? And they've all impacted our lives amazing. I've been taking notes on almost every book you guys have written down because I need a new list because I haven't read anything in probably 6 months, and it's time to start reading again. Bridget, I'm sure you read books on how to help Mitch and Matt do hairstyles, right? Oh, you're on mute there.
There we go. Yeah, it's called a wig.
Gonna wig it, yeah.
You gotta wig it. That's your hairstyle. So, all great information. Cam, make sure you put your workbook in the chat. You know how we can purchase it, because it is all implementation, and that workbook forces the implementation, right? So, I'd love to buy it. I'd love to buy it too. So my book to share, and this all goes around, the same idea. One of the ones that, I love is the 5 a.m. club. And I still don't get up at 5 a.m. I'll tell you, my clock is, I'm a kind of a later person, but I really force myself to go to bed early. So I'm kind of the 6 a.m. club. Which is, it's heading the right direction, but it is literally about that sacred hour of your mindset, some physical health, some movement, prayer, meditation. Because it is self-mastery. And if you don't master yourself first, all of these books aren't going to help you. Because, execution is where the rubber meets the road. I'm really interested in reading Traction. I just heard about that one, so I'm going to purchase that. And when I read on Audible mostly. I will read my Bible, not on Audible. That's the only thing pretty much I read that I'm actually reading a book. I am an Audible person. I retain information quicker by listening. And I drive a lot, like Cam said. So to me, that's like life-changing because I can absorb so much information quickly while I'm driving between appointments and just really grow. But that's a sacred time, driving and listening to Audible, or even at night, if I'm going to bed and I'm chunking out a book, then I'll do 15, 20 minutes and listen to that as opposed to TV. But so the 5 a.m. club, it really is that sacred hour, 20 minutes of high intensity exercise. For me, I need coffee first. Like that's not happening. I'm going to reflect first, right? And then I'm going to get coffeeed up or do a juice with some cayenne pepper in it, because that also wakes me up outside of coffee. Like if you have literally juicing, the beets and the celery and all that. We do a lot of that, but adding cayenne pepper will wake you up. And so I like that. That's my alternative to coffee. But so the 20 minutes of reflection, then I'm ready to do some music. And even if it isn't high intensity, just literally like stretching, but movement in general. And then listening to something and growing something or mapping out my day. I'm trying to map out my day the night before, because that's really where the rubber meets the road too. So, just even last night, looking through the letters of intents that I need to reply to, kind of getting an outline of what my thoughts are, my notes are going to be back to our clients, and then my list of everyone I need to follow up with. And scheduled out time for working out and attraction. Like I'm really implementing that now. Unless you have the scheduled time to implement all of these things, it won't happen. So, I hate to be repetitive, but how many times have you heard a motivational coach or success coach say, if it's not in your calendar, it doesn't exist? And it's taken me a long time to learn that, because I've been an independent agent. I haven't really leveraged a lot. I got a little bit of help on offers and this and that and the other, but I do a lot. I've done a lot of the work in the past, and now I'm like stepping out of that, and really it is self-mastery to assign it, and it is self-mastery to literally build that schedule and keep that schedule, especially for me. A lot of agents, we have a lot of energy. We're going 1,000 different directions. So I've had to learn to pull back, start my morning right, get my schedule down, and then it is mastery to stick to it, because there's always something pouring in. Client needs, family needs. There's always so much coming in that you have to go, hold on. When I'm done with this block of time or this task, and then I'll respond to that. That says, give Rusty her medicine. See? Right in the middle of my thing. She'll go, she'll get her medicine when we're done with this call. That's the dog. So the 5 a.m. club is it's the mindset, your emotional well-being, your physical health. If you do these things, then the other things of being able to implement, use that workbook and then absorb, like the book that Ross talks about, Traction, which again is now next on my list. If you do those things and set yourself up for success, then you will be able to implement all those other things. So that's my deal. There's a lot of other things I can, put in there, but and there's this app called Hedgeway. I think it is Hedgeway. Have you guys heard of it? And that is, it gives you, it gives you the top like 5 points of every book. So if you put in what Cam said, what is it? Success principles, it'll have it in there, and it'll give you like a 15-minute power read of the book with the 5 best principles or something to that effect. I think it costs like $90 a year, but it's also something I've used because it's like, wow, I want to read this, but I'm limited on time. So it'll give you the best principles to apply. So that's a great one to be able to absorb multiple things. So anyway, that's what I have.
Awesome. And it's funny you said that about routine, Bridget, because I think that's part of the biggest reason why I've been able to stay on track for the last 20 years is I'm a creature of, I get up at 5 o'clock, I hang out with my dog for a half hour, have a cup of tea, take my dog for a walk. I mean, it's the same every morning.
I love that. And I remember you told us you watch some old, cowboy stuff or something. I love that. I've thought about that since you've said that. I'm like, man, that's a great routine. Because a lot of people give that dog time to their dog at night. I'm finally done with the day. And so I thought I should do that with my dogs. Give them that morning time.
The cool thing about the dogs, it's unconditional love, right? Like it's just like no matter what, I wake up in the morning, 50 pounds of licking my face and just awesomeness. Love it. I went on a listing appointment this morning, just side note, real funny, before we go to Matt, and two dogs. So I immediately dropped to the floor. I'm like, hey, sorry, I'm on the floor in my suit, my black suit, hair all over me. playing with the dogs. And they didn't even really interview me. They're like, if our dogs love you, you got the listing, right? I go, yeah, I know. That's why I do it. There you go, Maddie. What do you got for books, Matt?
Hey guys, good morning. Um, I don't know. I came on a little late, but so I don't know if some of these have been mentioned. But Good to Great's a good book. The E Myth, I'm sure people have mentioned. I don't know if anybody's mentioned Grinding It Out. So Grinding It Out is by Ray Kroc, the guy that uh, franchised McDonald's. Right? He was a milkshake salesman, and he came across these two brothers in Riverside County here in Southern California that had a restaurant called McDonald's Brothers. And anyway, he was the guy that turned that one restaurant into what McDonald's is today. And I always loved the book Grinding It Out. They've now made kind of a movie out of it, but Grinding It Out is kind of, it talks about how he built McDonald's into what it is. And one of the things that I found that I always remember about that book, and I always use when I'm talking to salespeople, before I got into real estate, when I got out of being a boat captain and got into real estate, my first sales job was door-to-door sales. And then I built a company where I had about 50 door-to-door salespeople, and we had rebuttals for every objection that you would hear at the door. We sold these little $50 cards for gas stations. You got free oil changes and stuff like that. And we had a list of rebuttals. We had about 15 rebuttals for every objection somebody could give you at the door. And so you literally had to learn how to go toe to toe with people and overcome objections. And the way I used to train these people is I would tell everyone to read that book, or I would just mention the book. And one of the interesting things is Ray Kroc, or maybe it was the McDonald's brothers. They invented, you ever look in the back of a McDonald's, you see when they're scooping the fries into the little bags? Well, the scoop goes it's like a funnel, right? And the reason that scoop is shaped that way is because it takes all the fries and then it lines them up straight so that when you get that little bag of French fries at McDonald's, they're all straight in, and that way the customer gets, the amount of fries they're supposed to get. He was having a problem because the kids would put the fries in there and they'd be crooked, and then there wouldn't be that many fries in there. So the kids that work at McDonald's, they have no idea that's the reason that scoop is shaped that way. But all they have to do is use the scoop, and it works. They don't even have to think about it. And it's the same with rebuttals. If you learn what to say when you're talking to a prospect, whether it's a listing appointment or whatever, you don't need to know that there's 7 ways to overcome an objection and blah blah blah. You don't need to know any of that, because the rebuttals, it's all built into that. So that leads me to my next one, and I think David's the one who told me about this. David Lawson, exactly what to say for real estate agents, which is there's like 3 authors, but the main guy is Phil Jones. That's really interesting. That's like a handbook that you can look at all the time. It's exactly what to say for real estate agents. I don't know if anybody's mentioned Think and Grow Rich. That's one you could read by Napoleon Hill. You can read that one over and over again. The other thing is, obviously, these are all books about business, but I think it's really important. You always hear people at EXP talking about having a dream board, right? And having goals, what you want to do. So, again, before I even got into sales, I was a first mate and then a tall ship captain. And so I like reading books about sailing around the world and traveling. So I wrote down Martin Eden by Jack London, and also a short story called Youth by Joseph Conrad, which is incredible. I've read that book so many times and I love it because that book is about Joseph Conrad's first experience of going to sea when he was, I don't know, probably he was like 16 or 17. He went on a ship called the Palestine. And the book is about him going back and seeing his old friends. These guys are all old now, right? They're our age probably. But they sit around a table. They're sitting around a table and drinking scotch. They're all old guys, and they're talking about how amazing wasn't that the best times of their life when they were young and at sea. And he looks around the table and he says, everybody at this table, you've all achieved these great things in your life. There's the man of finance, there's a man of law, blah, blah, blah. But wasn't that the best time? And so I like reading those books because when I stop selling real estate, that's what I'm going to end up doing is buying a boat and taking off. So I think it's important. You talk about, nurturing your soul. It's important to read books, not just about business, but about things that you're interested in doing. Once you've made enough money where you can go off and do those things. So I think that's important too.
That's very important. All right.
We can
I
all
got a
move
lot
to
of
Florida
books.
like me.
Yeah, come hang out with me. I'm having fun here. Yeah. And come on our side because there's too many hurricanes on Cam's side. All right, so let's talk about personal first. Personal for me, anything Tony Robbins. I've read several Tony Robbins books and watched several Tony Robbins stuff. Anything on personal growth. I don't care what you're reading, but Tony Robbins stuff is to me the best still. So that's number one. Die with Zero by Bill Perkins changed my life dramatically in 2021. That talks about your buckets of time, and it's really interesting because we're all programmed to save all of our money, invest heavily when we're young and all that stuff. So when we're my age, you can retire and all that stuff. But Die with Zero does it opposite. It kind of talks a little bit about your buckets of time. Like for instance, if I was 15 years old like Cam, I could physically do stuff. At 64 years old, I'm about to play my last baseball game at Fenway Park, which is pretty awesome actually, in September. But that'll be my last baseball play because I can't run that fast anymore. And I can tell you, once you hit your 40s and 50s and 60s, you feel the physical part of it. And I'm in great shape, but I still struggle with certain things physically. Like I always wanted to go bungee jumping. I can't do that now because I've had 2 major neck surgeries. So the book talks about doing all your fun stuff at the beginning of your life, not waiting till you're retiring. The other thing it talks about, if you have money, is, and we do this with our kids now, is leave. Why do we wait till we're dead to give them the money? And I'll give you an example of that. My son, if I lived to 95, right, my son would be 76 when I die. If I leave him $1 million, what's he going to do with it at 76? Not much, right? So that's kind of the whole. It's a great book. It changed my life. From a business perspective, I have a lot because I was an avid reader. And I said at the beginning, so I read 3 to 5 times. I had to read a book to get the book, and so every book I'm going to talk about right now, I've read 3 to 5 times. First one with everybody's mentioned it, but I want to talk about it. E-Myth Revisited. He has a bunch of them. He has E-Myth with real estate and all that. I don't care about those ones. I've never read those. I read E-Myth Revisited literally at least 10 times. It's the book that started my path of reading books in business. I owned the online dating service at the point, and I was a micromanager. And I was literally working 150 hours a week back then on the road all the time, and I'd call my assistant from the road 6 times a day. And then a guy who actually be the vice president of Arbitron when I was in the radio industry at the same time, he's like, "What are you doing?" I go, "Call my assistant." He goes, "That's not how you run a business." And it's the easiest book I've ever read. It's literally, you can sit it down in a couple hours and read the book. It's about a pie shop. Most impactful business book I've ever read. Someone else mentioned Good to Great. Phenomenal book. And again, shaped the way I run businesses because what the main line in there is good is the enemy of great. And I want you to think about that for a second. Almost everybody I see in this business is good. And when you're good, that means mediocre, by the way. That means they don't ever strive to get to the next level. I mean, how many people do you see go up this level of the real estate business? They get to, I'm just going to use local number, $5-6 million a year sales, and that's it. And for the next 10 years, they do $5 or $6 million a year. They get comfortable with mediocrity. I'm going to be honest with you, and I might have some of my agents on here that were with my brokerage. I built my business based on mediocrity. I knew that people were not going to be me. And I don't mean that in a cocky way, by the way, but they didn't want to be a bald, short bald Jewish guy. But I knew they weren't going to reach to the stars, and it was a hard lesson for me to learn. That's a whole other story. The Energy Bus by John Gordon. Who you hang around with will determine your future. Right? If you hang around with schmucks, you're going to be a schmuck. Right? I was telling the story before we were going to get on. I think some of you guys might have been on here. I went to my daughter-in-law is a big music video producer in Hollywood, and they did a documentary on Ty Dolla $ign, which I'm not a rapper, so didn't know who Ty was before this thing, but very famous rapper. And same upbringing, and his father, and a musician. And um, his father went to, stay with music, stay with music. They entertained, they did the stuff when they were 10 and 12 years old, and then Ty stayed the music path, and his brother Gabe went the gang path, and Gabe's been sitting in jail now for 20 years. Right. So who you hang out with will determine it. I do not allow drama in my life, except for Pete, because I love Pete's drama. He's fun. He's got fun drama. But I don't. I cut everybody out of my life that's drama. And keep this in mind, by the way, from a drama's perspective. I just did a post on this on TikTok. Most of your friends and family want you to fail, right? They want you to stay at their level. And I've dealt with this. So they'll tell you to your face, I want you to win, I want you to win. But they don't want you exceeding their level. It makes them feel bad about their lives. Okay. Out of the Deal, whether you like him or not, that book is amazing from Donald Trump. It's a phenomenal book. I read it when it first came out 100 years ago. Ultimate Sales Machine, Chet Holmes. Probably
Nick,
the best systems
Nick,
sales book
Nick.
I've ever read. Yes, Bridget, yeah.
Can your Boston accent and your energy, I can't write that fast. Go back
Yes, you
to
can. Which, back to the Energy Bus.
the energy
Yeah,
bus.
yeah.
Got that one?
Okay, the Art of the Deal by Donald Trump.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that's
Okay.
a good.
And this one's The Ultimate Sales Machine by Chet Holmes. Probably the best sales book I've ever read.
Ultimate.
Ultimate Sales Machine by Chet Holmes.
Okay.
And The 1 Minute Salesperson by Ken Blanchard. Another unbelievable book. Literally, you can read it in an hour, maybe two at the most. It's a little tiny book. And if you're managing people, the 1 Minute Sales Manager. Two of the best books I've read. And then, of course, and I'll give you guys these for free if you want them. I have two books. If you're thinking about starting a team or running a team and you're not happy, my book, The Big Lie, is talking about my modern team model, how to run a real estate business completely different than how everybody runs a real estate team. And then my other one, if you're a newer agent or struggling, I have a book called and I just finished rewriting it and had it re-edited. Called You've Got Your Real Estate License. Now what? If you send me an email, Mitch@mitchrealty.com, and say which one you want, either The Big Lie or both, or that, Mitch@mitchrealty.com, I'll send you the PDFs of both of them. Ultimately,
Are they on
all of
Audible?
those. It's not an Audible because I talk the way I talk and I can't do it, so I'm going to have to hire someone to do them for Audible for me.
Pete,
Yep.
you can do it.
Pete would do it great, but Pete's as ADD as I am. He would last about 2 chapters. So the key to all this, and we have 15 extra minutes here to open up to any questions you guys might have or anything, is I've read all these books, and this is from a guy that can't read. I mean, I flunked out of college because I can't read. I was 326 out of 328 in my high school class because I can't read, and I was never diagnosed with reading disabilities until I diagnosed myself. And so Audibles, I do everything through Audible now when I listen to a book. But ultimately, the best part about reading a book is it opens your brain. When I said earlier, we get to that with good to great. The good is the enemy of great. We get stuck in this pattern for years, like many, many years, of just doing the same thing. And the reason being because you don't have any stimulation. You don't have any mental stimulation, and you have to put yourself in stimulation. I mean, I talk to Pete all the time. I talk to a lot of people all the time because I want to hear other people's opinions. Yeah, I'm a pretty good business guy. I know how to run business. I know how to create stuff. I've been doing it my whole life. But yet I learn stuff every day, even at 64 years old. I want to learn as much as I can because once you think you know it all, you suck. It's the end. And once you think you've reached the pinnacle of your business, that's where the business has to go down. And if I've learned anything, it's always about leveling up. I'll give you a really quick story, then we'll open it up if anybody has any questions. I was in Puerto Rico, Pete, that time we went to Puerto Rico with that brainstorming session was great. And I was sitting, it was just me and Glenn Sanford. And if you're not with EXP, Glenn Sanford is probably one of the smartest people I've ever met in my life. Super smart. And, stocks down, he's probably worth $500 million now, right? And by the time he's worth $1 billion, and we were talking, I'm like, I want to know why you keep pushing. And he's like, because there's always another level. Because it's not for money at that point, but there's always another level. And I'll use the analogy of golf. Golf is like that. You know, when I'm a 20 handicap, so I shoot in the low 90s. That's where I shoot. Unless I play Pete, then I'm like, somehow I would shoot 110. He scares me. And yet I was a 9 handicap. And, you know, I was a 78 to 82 golfer all the time. And I was always trying to get to the next level. Every professional golfer tries to get to the next level. Because even when they shot a 64, they go, you know, I missed those 2 putts. I could have shot a 62. And so if you're not a golfer, you may not understand what any of that means. But my point is, you've always got to go, what's the next level I want to get to? Now, that doesn't mean you have to work more, because I'm a huge believer in freedom. But you have to, and part of leveling up is finding freedom, which is what I teach these days. But you've got to go to the next level of whatever you're doing. And Glenn was a great example. He's got more money than he'll ever need the rest of his life forever. Yet it's not about money. It's about leveling up to the next level wherever you want to be to win. So, all right. Any of you guys have any more comments on this stuff, or if we want to open it up to conversations, or we can just drink a vodka? I don't know.
I love conversations. I like that. That's my favorite way to do these. So,
You know, for another great bunch of books that I read, when I think of Florida, I always think of, there's a great writer named John D. McDonald, and he wrote the Travis McGee series, which is a great series of books. I mean, honestly, I read those all when I was a teenager. They're all like, Travis McGee is like an American James Bond. He lives on a houseboat in Fort Lauderdale. And I say he's an American James Bond. Anyway, they're great books. There's probably like 25 of them. And then he also wrote a really cool book, which is called Condominium. And it's about a condo in Florida that's built in front of the dune line on a barrier island, and gets hit by like the 500-year storm. It's really good. So this is a great topic, because it's reminding me of a bunch of books I want to read again.
Yeah, it did that for me too. When I was going through that, I was like, oh yeah, I should probably, like, The Energy Bus was one of my favorite books. I only read that a couple times, and that's a really good one.
So what?
Hey, what do
The
you got?
energy bust? The energy bust?
The Energy Bus. Oh yeah, that's great. You'll get rid of
I got a
everybody in
question.
your life
Wrote
that's
it.
drama.
Who wrote that?
John Gordon. Jon. John Gordon.
So, by the way, you guys that do Audible, do you pay a membership for Audible and then the books are free, or do you have to buy them like buying them on a Kindle individually?
Yeah, you get a certain amount free. I think you get 1 or 2 credits a month I think it's $15 a month. You get 1 or 2 credits a month, and they compound. If you don't use them, yeah, more.
Yeah.
I think I have like 7 credits right now I haven't used yet. But it's great, because that's where you're driving your car, you're listening to it.
Yeah.
I walk every morning, so I listen to it when I'm walking.
Yeah, it's $15.99 a month through Amazon. It's all part of Amazon. And then the credits do just build, and you go in and it'll be like, this book is 1 credit. So you just keep on that, and then you can, really load. And they're really great because you can pause it. You can go back into this chapter. You can speed up how fast they're talking. You can slow it down. Like, and I like to put it a little faster than it's normally read typically. Yeah. So 2x, Cam's on 2x, because we're fast. We want to get to the point. But it's a treasure. And in the amount of books and the amount of topics they have in there, it's not just these, it is everything that for spiritual health, emotional health, like it's really a great resource. So it's really worth it.
One thing I also so when I drive, I listen to a lot of podcasts, and I found a really interesting real estate one. It's called Top Real Estate Agents Tell How They Do It. And the host is somebody named Jere, Jere Metcalf, Metcalf. She's an agent I think out of Atlanta originally, and now she lives in Florida. I don't know what company she's with, but it's called Top Real Estate Agents Tell How They Do It. And there's a lot of it's about luxury. But there's a few agents from here in San Diego that have been featured on it, like Brett Dickinson and Ann Brazolis and stuff. So that's pretty interesting. I've only listened to a handful of episodes, but it's really interesting when you're driving, you figure sometimes it's good to be listening to something that you're actually going to learn something that you can apply to your business as opposed to like, true crime podcasts.
Right.
Is that on Spotify?
I got it just on Apple Podcasts.
Apple?
I'm sure it's anywhere that you get
Probably
podcasts.
everywhere. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a podcast. But she's got like over 300 episodes. Like I was just listening to one the other day, an agent in Aspen. I forgot his name, but very interesting to hear these agents in really, obviously very competitive markets, but really expensive markets. Like Aspen's got to be one of the most expensive real estate markets in the country for sure. So those are interesting to listen to, I think.
Okay, so I got a question for everyone because everyone mentions that you guys read your books over and over and you do, multiple read throughs. I personally don't. I have a couple books like the Success Principles that I went through a couple times because I actually I do them. It's like, step 1, step 2. What are you guys doing when you read it the 4th time? How do you guys, so for me, I'm just ADHD or ADDDDD, right? So I couldn't read something that I already know the answer to. It's like, I know where we're going here. I've already read this. Kind of give me your mindset on.
I literally canceled it in person with one of his cronies.
I think Pete, I think you popped up there. But
I don't know who that.
I was like,
That's
oh,
not
what's
me.
going on here? So the thing is what are you personally getting out, or what are you trying to find something when you already know where the book's going? I mean, I know the ends of all these books. I know what they say. Kind of break it down, guys.
Yeah,
Tell me what
so
you think.
for me, it's really simple. Again, being really, really ADD and having a reading disabilities, I can read a page and not
Fiction.
remember anything on that page. So for me, when I read it multiple times, it just sinks in better. But also, it's like watching a movie and go, oh, I forgot about that scene, or oh yeah, or you notice something different, and that's what I find. I'll read something and then, and when I finally started doing, by the way, which really helped was highlighting things, because then I go back and just read the highlights, right, and go, because I want to remember that, and I know I won't be in my mind that I have, so I'll highlight stuff. But that's definitely the reason why I read multiple times.
That makes sense. More internalizing, right? Like you're studying it and it's helping you.
Yeah.
Okay.
It would be retention and reminding. So it's like you go to Tony Robbins once, you're remotivated. Why go to him again? You already know what he says, but people go to him every time because you get a remotivation, a re-clarity of thought. We're not like you. We don't memorize everything. That might be one of your superpowers. I have a really good memory with ADHD. It is one of I read something once and I do retain it, but I still need those reminders. Like with having a lending background in underwriting, I would read underwriting guidelines once and that was it. I was taking on every underwriter and winning. So I knew the guidelines better than them. But and for me, if I do something, I'll do my 5 or 10 things and memorize them. I'm like, what's principle 1? What's principle 2? And then it's just filed away. Like, hey, remember those principles 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You know what I mean? Grab a handful. And then with some of these things, just if you take away just one nugget or remind yourself of one serious nugget in a book, and re-implement it, because maybe we implemented something that we forget, and then it's just that having that reminder is it can be life-changing and set you back on track.
Yeah, that does make sense because obviously reading a lot of these, I read them the first time. Like I said, I don't read books more than once typically. I don't watch movies more than once either. But that makes sense because 1, you'll find stuff you missed, and 2, we read them first time and they were so good. That's why I'm bringing them up. But if you read them again, they're going to be just as good the second time. So that's a great answer, you guys. Thanks for kind of giving me a picture in your mind.
Well, that's why we like to teach you younger people how to succeed.
Yeah, that's what we're here for.
All right, anybody else got anything else to add before we hang up here? Pete, Matt?
Nope.
Nope, we're good.
Really stoked on
guys.
everyone on that top 100, you guys. Everyone did a really good job this year. Really proud of everyone. We had great numbers. I mean, shoot, good job, team.
Yeah, it's awesome. All right, man. Well, remember, for those who want to see these repeats, they're all on my YouTube channel. So just go to my YouTube channel. If you subscribe, you'll get notified every time they're on. Obviously, remember, if you send me, I think I already got a few emails for books, so I'm glad to give you. I could care less about the money for the books. I'd rather help people. So get those send me those emails if you want those books. And we'll see you guys next week.
See you guys.
Hey, guys.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah.